What is up, everybody? It's been a while. Glad to be back. A lot of crazy stuff going on right now. I mean, first thing to talk about, yeah, we'll get to this China stuff in a minute. It's going to be a real China themed episode, but gotta say, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Tucker had a guest on today that I've been trying to get for a couple of weeks now, Catherine Austin Fitts. And if you haven't watched it yet, definitely check it out after this because she's like the only one talking about what I consider to be probably the most important topic in the world right now, which nobody else seems to either know about or be interested in talking about. That there's $35 trillion that are unaccounted for since 1998. And I don't know why nobody else has talked about this, but it's really connected with everything, like from 9/11 to the Clintons to the what's going on with space and underground facilities and everything. So I actually even had an episode coming out about this like in a couple of days. But to give you a quick rundown about this, she says that in the 90s, in 1995, there was like the longest ever government shutdown over a budget disagreement. So it was like the first time in 40 years that there was a Republican majority in Congress when Clinton was president. And when the Republicans didn't get what they wanted with the budget, then she argues that they essentially gave up on America and started moving money out of America. And around that time too, they changed the accounting laws for America where they no longer had to be transparent about what they were spending money on. So Catherine Austin Fitts claims that they started just moving money out of America and started putting it into space related stuff, putting it into underground military bases, and that they're like building this breakaway society. So real crazy concept that I haven't heard anybody else talk about. Alex Jones alludes to it sometimes, but I don't know why he hasn't really gone deeper on this. Nobody else has. So I'm really glad to see the Tucker had her on, even though I was trying to get her on. But hopefully this creates some momentum with this. But anyway, we got a lot going on with what is it? We got a lot going on with China. People are not too happy with the tariffs and all that. Like Trump's approval rating came out last week and said, oh, it's the lowest one ever since Nixon. But really positive stuff coming out with what's going on with Chinese companies. Now, I knew about this company, Temu, but I didn't know that they aren't allowed to sell in China. So check this out. All right. So this is like pretty much like the primary example of China dumping cheap stuff into our market and putting American companies out of business. So look at what Temu was all about. So this is what's going on with them right now. NBC News is framing it like Temu customers in the U.S. hit with steep import charges due to tariffs. Some shoppers have seen new surcharges double on the cost of what are typically ultra cheap online prices. Right. So that's one way to put it. But so let's see. 3-pack of men's athletic shorts on sale for $23.61. Free shipping came out to $56 after $32 import charge. But that's perfect because if you look at us, so the thing about this is that Temu isn't allowed to sell in China. You know who their biggest customer is? America. 42% of Temu customers are from America. So same thing with Shein. Let me show you this chart right here. Look at this. Temu revenue growth. All right. Shares of Temu downloads by country. So US 42%. Next highest UK 7%. But why isn't it allowed in China? Look at this. Is Temu allowed in China? No, Temu is not officially available or intended for use within China. Temu's primary focus, or its in international markets, particularly U.S. and other regions, is not accessible through main Chinese app stores or commonly used by Chinese customers. So why the hell is a Chinese company dumping cheap-ass products into America and they're not even allowed to sell in China? So same exact thing with Shane. Shane. Look, same exact deal. 45% from America. Oh, that's not the right one. Where is it? Is that what in it? Yeah, there we go. 39% from America. All right. So same thing. Not allowed to sell in China. So why the hell are we letting this random Chinese company sell cheap shit into our market? And we're acting like it's a good thing. Like people are mad about this, that the prices of these are going up. But like this is literally the intention of the tariffs, to make these companies less competitive, so they can't just dump cheap stuff in here. Because like this guts the middle class. Like think about what's the result of this if it cuts into companies like I guess Amazon or Walmart or American companies that employ American people. Obviously, it's going to cut profits from them. So that's one thing, but there's a much bigger thing here with China. So I read the One Nation Under Blackmail. That was the first book in my book club, and the link for that's in the description. But one of the craziest things I saw in there was that, often gets said China steals our intellectual property, but there's a lot of cases where they're given our technology, like a technology transfer, illegally, either by bribing people or to, create a threat that doesn't already exist so we could justify spending. But there's been a lot of talk lately about how even though we banned NVIDIA semiconductor chips from going to China, they still ended up there. So that reminded me a lot of this situation that I saw in this book with Bill Clinton and, a lot of the people that were around him that are no longer with us, like Ron Brown, who died in the plane crash, the Secretary of Commerce, that they basically facilitated technology transfers to China with satellites and computer chips and data tracking software that they didn't already have. Like China had no capacity to do digital payments before the 90s, but the Clinton administration got them the ability to do digital payments. They gave them satellite capabilities, missile technology. So what the hell is the purpose of that? And then right after that administration, China's economy has liftoff. So this is a thing that's been going on for a long time now. And when I see that China is now, was it NVIDIA's stock is tanking because China now has, they're saying that Huawei can basically do what NVIDIA is doing. I don't think that's something that happened by themselves, like on their own. I think this is still going on. And they were talking about this the other day on the All In podcast, where like there's tons of ways that China essentially gets technology from the United States because it's just profitable to tap into China's market, to access China's market. So let's see. Where is this story? Huawei. NVIDIA stock goes from like 114 to 94 on news that Huawei is getting into the game. Huawei. Here we go. Oh, and this is important too. So take a look at this. This is really what put me onto this one. Boom. So look how China's narrowing the gap with us in the AI race. So performance of the top US and Chinese AI models, language, whatever, LMSYS arena. So look at the gap just in January 2024 to February 2025. Why is that happening? DeepSeek reduced the gap while US also being open sourced. But you need chips to do that, right? So look, NVIDIA chips in China. How did get in China? China's Huawei develops new AI chip seeking to match NVIDIA. Huawei Technologies is gearing up to test its newest and most powerful artificial intelligence processor, which the company hopes could replace some higher-end products of U.S. chip giant NVIDIA. The steady advance by one of China's flagship technology companies points to resilience of the country's semiconductor industry despite efforts by Washington to stymie it, including by cutting off access to some Western chip-making equipment. Huawei has approached some Chinese tech companies about testing the technical feasibility of the new chip called the Ascent 9D. People familiar with the matter said that the company is slated to receive the first batch of samples of the processor, but as soon as late May, some of the people said the development is still at an early stage and the series of tests will be needed to assess the chip's performance and get it ready for customers. People said Huawei hopes that its latest iteration of its Ascent AI processor will be more powerful than NVIDIA's H100, a popular chip used for AI training that was released in 2022, said one of the people. Previous versions are called 910B, right? So essentially what it's saying is that Huawei now has the technology that NVIDIA has. But that's funny because just a year ago, China didn't have the intellectual or industrial capability to make these chips. They weren't advanced enough to do that. So how the hell did they miraculously get the ability to do this in a year? I think it has something to do with the fact that NVIDIA chips were getting smuggled to China when they weren't supposed to be. NVIDIA chips smuggled to China. U.S. prompts NVIDIA probe into how chips ended up in China. Information reports. December 19th, 2024, U.S. Department of Commerce has recently asked NVIDIA to look into how the company's products ended up in China over the past year. The information reported on Tuesday, citing a person close to the department, the chip giant has asked big distributors such as Supermicrocomputer and Dell Technologies to conduct spot checks of their customers in Southeast Asia. The report said NVIDIA's artificial intelligence chips are embedded in server products and made by Supermicro and Dell. The information reported that 5 different people involved in smuggling NVIDIA chips said that they managed so far to evade detection during recent inspections by Supermicro. We insist that our customers and partners strictly adhere to all export control restrictions. Any unauthorized deviation of previously owned products, including any gray market resales, would be burdened, blah, 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 blah. So they're giving them the runaround, and it looks a whole lot like, I don't know if NVIDIA was complicit in it, but somebody made sure that China was still getting these NVIDIA chips, and then they reverse engineered it, and now Huawei has the ability to make them, and then now DeepSeek has the ability to do what ChatGPT does. So we're helping China keep up with us in the AI race, just like we basically subsidized the Soviet Union to be able to justify the Cold War, because without us subsidizing them, they wouldn't have been even strong enough to function on their own, let alone be like a feasible or considerable rival to us. So it's a pattern. I see the same thing going on here. Like, we're propping China up, and we don't need to be like, they would have never been even close to where they're right now without our help. And then they wouldn't be close to us right now if we weren't blowing air into them and pushing them along. And it's like the TV show, what's it called? The Boys, when I don't know if you saw it before, but when the superheroes don't get a government contract, they want to be like defense contractors. They bring the stuff Compound X to terrorists in the Middle East, so they give them superpowers too. So then the military can't fight them by themselves, and they go to them and say oh, hey, we actually do need you, so we're gonna give you the contract. So sometimes when you don't get what you want, you give the dangerous thing to the enemy so that the people with the money and the ability to give you contracts give you what you want. So I'm not saying it's definitely that, but it seems a whole lot like it could be that. But what do I know? But I really like what's going on with what is it? With Temu and Shein, because it's causing things like this Apple thing to happen, where Apple has announced that it's moving completely out of China. So right now, right now 80% of iPhones get produced in China, right? So let's grab this story. Yes, right now 80% of iPhones get produced in China, and I think 20% get produced in India, but Apple's completely moving to India. So here's how it's going to impact that. So obviously it's directed or caused by the 145% tariff, but look at this. Check this out. Let me share the screen. So Apple China exodus, all iPhones to be made in India by 2025. Apple is planning to shift the assembly of all iPhones sold in the US to India by next year. Financial Times report said on Friday, a bold move fueled by President Donald Trump's renewed tariff threats on Chinese imports. The plan is part of a broader strategy to diversify Apple's supply chain away from China, which still dominates most of the tech giant's manufacturing infrastructure. If successful, this shift would see over 60 million iPhones produced annually in India by 2026, doubling current output, the FT reports. So, U.S. is Apple's most important market in 2024. It accounted for roughly 28% of the company's global iPhone shipments. According to IDC, moving the production of U.S.-bound iPhones out of China not only helps Apple dodge steep tariffs, but also reduces long-term geopolitical risks tied to U.S.-China relations. More immediately, the pivot is reaction to Trump's reciprocal tariff agenda. His administration slapped with China tariffs that once hit as high as 145 and still include a 20% duty on smartphones, though some electronics like phones were recently exempt. That relief appears temporarily. In the fiscal year ending March 2025, Apple assembled $22 billion worth of iPhones in India and a 60% year-over-year increase. According to Bloomberg, about 20% of the world's iPhones now come from India, figure poised to grow rapidly. Most of its production takes place Foxconn sprawling. Got it. So I don't know. I kind of think this is like a lateral move because you're eventually gonna have the same problem that you have with China with India, because ultimately we want to bring jobs back to America, and this is just moving jobs from China to India, and it's going to make India super rich and powerful. And I guess for the short term, it's good to have India be rich instead of China, because we have to kind of bleed China out. But the one positive thing about this, I guess, Jordan brought up to me in the book club meeting yesterday, that it will create some American jobs because India doesn't have the skilled labor to build these manufacturing plants in India. So that that's going to create American jobs. However, it's obviously not a permanent thing, maybe some maintenance work and stuff, but I think that, people say like, oh, we don't want the low skilled jobs coming back to America. Like, who's going to want to work those anyway? I think with AI and automation and everything, we could have factories here that require less workers and have higher skilled jobs. So it's obviously like super oversimplifying it, but I hope that this is just like step one of a process to get Apple over here. Because I mean, given like all the tax credits they need to bring jobs back here, like I literally almost don't even think that we should allow American companies to manufacture overseas, because like you could have all the reciprocal tariffs you want, but how are we going to compete with labor wages in other countries? Like we can't. Like for as long as companies are allowed to produce in other countries, then we're not going to be able to compete with them on wages. Like it's almost, and then you'll say, oh, but if we tell American companies they can't produce or they can't manufacture overseas, then why wouldn't they just make their company based in another country and then sell to America? Well, we probably shouldn't allow them to sell to America if they're based in another country. I mean, like maybe we get that to that level of protectionism. A lot of people won't like that because they'll say like, oh, that will really cut things off limits. Like, so why do you think all these other countries are so crazy when it comes to tariffs and what is able to be sold or imported into their country? Because like it's a very delicate thing when you let cheap goods come into your economy and the businesses have to compete with that. And it's a very delicate thing when companies can offshore jobs into third world countries and have like slave labor wages and people working them. So I think just tariffs and moving out of China are step one of this. Like if we really want to address the problem, like we might want to say American companies can't manufacture in other countries. It's not something you could do overnight, but it's something that we should probably make them work towards because I don't think this is going to be like a permanent fix just to get out of China and get it into India. It's going to create the same issue. We're going to make India a powerhouse, and we can't trust India. Like Modi seems to go in whichever direction the wind is blowing, and like who the hell knows what kind of leader they're going to have after Modi. Like India is a wild place, like really weird place that probably can't have a whole lot of control over. I mean, we don't have a lot of control over right now. Like they literally just go with whoever has the like sweetest deal or sweetest offer. And speaking of India, they had a little skirmish today. There's a full-on terrorist attack from Pakistan apparently. Let's check that out. And China did not miss the opportunity to jump into the mix and say that they fully support Pakistan. So let's see. And I think it's weird timing that right after this Foxconn moving to India thing, this happened. So let's take a look. Wait a minute. Tell me this came out before the attack. So yesterday, New York Times, when did this come out? April 27th. This comes out. It says India seems to be building its case for striking Pakistan as world powers face multiple crises. The one set off by a terror attack in Kashmir's gang scant attention or helping de-escalating between nuclear armed neighbors. Since the horrific attack in Kashmir last week, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken on the phone with more than a dozen world leaders. Diplomats from 100 missions in India's capital have filed into the foreign ministry for briefings, officials said. But the efforts is largely not about rallying help to de-escalate India's dangerous face-off with Pakistan, which it accuses of having linkages to the attack. Instead, according to 4 diplomatic officials aware of discussions, New Delhi appears to be building a case for military action against its neighbors and archenemy. Without naming Pakistan, Mr. Modi in a speech on Thursday promised severe punishment and the raising of terror safe havens in an indication of how volatile the situation remains. The security forces of the two sides have exchanged intermittent small arms fire across the border. Indian officials said on Sunday, one official said the exchange of fire had happened 2 of the past 3 nights, while a second official said it was 3 consecutive nights. Kashmir Indian forces have also begun sweeping clampdown arrests hundreds. They continue their hunt for the perpetrators. Earlier, India declared its intention to disrupt the flow of water to Pakistan. Wow. Whose irrigation system depends largely on upstream rivers. All right, so then China gets into the mix. Where was that one? Where are you, China? Pakistan, China. So seeing conflicting things, but from the Hidden Doism Times, who not the most reliable, says China vows to support Pakistan, calls for restraint after Pahalgam terror attack. During a phone call with its Pakistani counterpart, Ishaq Dar, Chinese foreign minister, said China is closely following developments after its Pahalgam attack. China on Sunday. Oh, where's that sound coming from? Jeez, this thing is freaking loaded with ads. China on Sunday backed its close ally in Pakistan, safeguarding its sovereignty and security interests with Foreign Minister Wang Yi calling on New Delhi and Islamabad to exercise restraint in the aftermath of the terror attack in Pahalgam. During a phone call with his Pakistani counterpart, Ishaq Dar, Wang said China is closely following developments after the terror attack in backs an impartial investigation into the incident, according to a redoubt from China's foreign ministry. Wang's comments came after the backdrop of heightened tensions between India and Pakistan following the terror attack. Blah, blah, blah. So India announced a slew of punitive measures against Pakistan. Let's look at a little map of India and Pakistan. Map of Asia. Oh, actually, that one's the best one, probably. All right. So we got. Oh, why is this shit not being Chinese? Not great borders on this map. I don't like this one. So China, India, Pakistan. All right. So I think it's weird that this happens right as this Apple thing's happening, right as China's getting pressure. They're jumping to be on the side of Pakistan when India is in a position to really take a lot of the benefits they've been getting from America away from them. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's just jumping to conclusions, but I think that's weird timing. And I guess China's response will be the main indicator of if they had anything to do with this, or it could even be like a false flag by India. Like they could, all these things. I always wonder if there's something more to the way it's being pushed, because like America has such a lack of real terrorist attacks. I don't know if we've ever had a real terrorist attack before. It seems like probably not. So whenever I see a terrorist attack anywhere else, I wonder, like, oh, is there something deeper to that? Because the thing that's being jammed down our throat is no way so accurate. So we'll see with that. And then a lot of you guys are asking me today, what's my opinion with the Spain thing? And, people are jumping to the weather manipulation stuff. That's a weird one. It's a weird one. They've been going crazy with solar panels the past couple of years. Let's see. Spain digs out radios and maps as blackouts bring modern life to a halt. When the lights went out after one of Europe's biggest ever blackouts, modern life ground to a halt for millions of people in Spain, Portugal, and parts of France. In Madrid and Barcelona, people staggered into the streets holding their smartphones up, trying in vain to connect to a network. Citizens desperate for information queued for battery-operated radios to get news about the power cut that left whole cities without electricity or the internet. We are back to old-school methods, Lane Towser, who lives in Barcelona, said. Meanwhile, hospitals were forced to switch to emergency power generators as flights were grounded, leading to long delays at airports. The Madrid Open tennis competition was abandoned. The British tennis player was forced to leave the clay court after scoreboards and a camera above the court were affected by the outage. All right, so let's see. Let's go to X. Let's see what is going on here. Not maps, Spain. Spain power outage. And here we go. So look at the main sources of power generation for Spain. They're really leaning on the solar. Oh, what's this? What the hell? Is this Ooh, there was a wildfire under the main power line in the Pyrenees that disrupted the electricity export to France, which started a cascading power grid failure that led to Spain blackout. The power outage is caused by Spain's reliance on China's wind and solar power. It does not work at night. Interesting. Is that them blowing up their nuclear reactors? No way that's real. Huh. Wow, not a lot of people talking about this, huh? Huge power outages seems to be a large part of the country suffering power outages, but the data from Spain's national electricity grid shows a loss of more than 10 gigawatts of demand from 26 gigawatts to 12 gigawatts in a matter of seconds. The cause is still unknown. So that doesn't look very natural. That doesn't look very natural. But saying a loss of demand, not a loss of supply. So that's weird. I don't know. What do you guys think about this one? Let's bring it to the chat. Hey. So I want to join the book club. How are feeling away about collected data? Well, LJ, the nice thing about that is that the book club's on Connect. It's not on a weird website. So Connect, we don't collect your data on there. So, I mean, it's an app built by Valuetainment. So I can tell you firsthand, we're not going to be doing anything there. I'm paranoid about that stuff too. So, I mean, check it out. Read the terms and conditions if you want. But we do a lot of cool stuff in there. We got like 20 something people in there. We meet every Sunday and talk about current events, talk about the books we're going through. Like if you want to know about or read the One Nation Under Blackmail books, we are tore through that in like 2 weeks, volume 1 and volume 2. So there's a whole archive of that in there. I go through a chapter by chapter breakdown, try to make it as like concise and fast as possible, like get you all the main crazy stuff without you having to spend hours listening to, because I think it's like 40 hours of audio that the audiobook is, but I'm probably put it into like maybe like 1 hour, maybe an hour and a half worth of content, like going through each chapter. So that was the first two. Then we're going through the art of the deal right now to like kind of get inside Trump's head. And we're going through a book called Where Did the Towers Go? And it's a weird one. It actually kind of goes into the Spain thing where it talks about how, so it's written by an architectural engineer that says they cannot go along with the narrative of like how the towers fell because the structural way that came down doesn't make sense, because like there basically wasn't enough debris on the ground to match the amount of debris that would have came from a building that size. So she essentially makes the argument that directed energy weapons were used to bring down the towers. And it's a pretty compelling case. I'm going through it right now, doing chapter by chapter notes in the book club. And yeah, if you guys want to join that, the link is in the thing below. And I think I have a QR code here. Let me see if this thing works. Just got this today. Let me see if this takes you to it. Here we go. Let me test this thing out. Let's see. Hey, it works. So yeah, scan this QR code if you want to give it a shot. But yeah, we're doing some cool stuff in there. But yeah, so speaking of directed energy weapons, the Spain thing, I got to look into it more because I was so man, I got ripped down a freaking rabbit hole this weekend that kind of carried out through today. So I read this book called it's called Clinton Body Count, Clinton and Bush Conspiracies, from the boys on the tracks to Epstein. And man, I never heard a lot of stuff in this thing. Written by Sean Atwood, very good book. And it said a lot of stuff that I knew already, but then like 10 levels deeper than what I knew about it. So I don't know if you ever heard about the whole boys on the tracks thing. Like they were running drugs through Arkansas when Clinton was governor. They were funding the Contras and the Iran-Contra affair because Congress stopped giving the CIA money. So they had to find a new way to get money. And they were flying cocaine into Arkansas when Clinton was governor. This book claims that Clinton was a big user and that he even went to the emergency room one time, like for overdosing. And they say that Hillary Clinton like held the doctor up against the wall and threatened them and said, if you tell anybody about this, you're never going to practice medicine in the United States ever again. So like mind blowing stuff in this, like So I was thinking it was like a Frank Underwood situation where Clinton was just like layers and layers away from the situation. But somebody who worked directly with Clinton said that he like showed up at the freaking airport one time and like made the pickup as freaking governor of Arkansas. And the stuff was brought in, like put inside organs, like, you know, like how organ donors will give organs to people who need them. So they're saying that the drugs are brought in organ containers, like inside organs, and like Clinton and his freaking governor motorcade showed up to pick it up. And this was going smoothly until these two kids went out hunting one night and they saw something they weren't supposed to see, and they basically ended up on the train tracks getting run over by a train. And the conclusion was that they had smoked weed and gotten so high that they just lay down on the train tracks and, you know, passed out and got ran over. But that does make a whole lot of sense when there was like no blood there, and the train conductor was saying that they were like totally still not moving when they were laying on the train tracks. And then the medical examiner ruled a suicide. And like, so this medical examiner that mentions in the book is like the guy who's famous for ruling for like before bullet wounds to the head as a suicide. The guy's name was Farik Malik, and like he was the state medical examiner for Arkansas. And like there's literally a case where somebody got decapitated and he ruled it a suicide. And like it's mind blowing the stuff that they were getting away with. And says some really crazy stuff about the war on drugs, Bush Senior. So I'm like, I was telling Humberto the other day, like I want to go to freaking Arkansas and like talk to people who are like older there who remember that time, because guys, like literally dozens of people died in Arkansas who were like witnesses to this stuff, like blatantly, like they weren't even trying to hide it. Like they were just like freaking hit squads going around taking out people who knew compromising stuff about Clinton. Like House of Cards is so mild compared to what was going on in Arkansas. And then the book mentions Rick Ross too, how he was kind of like a patsy for the CIA. So they like just need somebody who could offload a lot of volume. And they gave a bunch of coke to this guy, what's his name, Baldone or something, and he would give it to Rick Ross, and then, you know, he would sell it. And yeah, Rick Ross like didn't know until he went to jail, and then like found out all this stuff, and gets into like the history of drugs in the United States, and talks about how FDR's grandfather got rich off of selling opium. Like, so just all kinds of freaking gems that I never knew of before. So I really enjoyed that one. So that's like not a book on our list yet that I've went through, but I mean, I tore through it in like 10 hours. So I'm probably do like a nice thorough summary of it in there. But I might go to freaking Arkansas next month, because it's like I think it'd be like a cool mini doc to make, like to go into detail about what happened there and what they were doing. And I mean, what a crazy move. They literally they import a shit ton of drugs into the country, declare the war on drugs, make strict drug laws where, you know, like if you get caught possessing drugs, you have like serving multiple years in prison. The prison population doubles and triples and quadruples from the time that Reagan's president to the time that Obama's president. And like they're bringing the stuff in here and they're changing the law to make it stricter. Like it's crazy. There's even one where maybe I should show you this one. So George Bush Senior, he becomes president. First time he's addressing the country, and he wants to like come down hard on drugs. So he wants to use a bag of crack as a prop, and wants to say that was sold across the street from the White House like just the other day. So they literally orchestrate this thing where they have to find a kid who will sell drugs in front of the White House. So they get their DEA undercover guy to like, they're like, hey, we need to like have a drug deal we need a sting operation in front of the White House so that the president could say this. So they literally manipulate this high school kid into coming in front of the White House, selling crack to this undercover DEA agent, arresting the kid, bringing the bag of crack to George H.W. Bush. And here, I'll show you this clip right now. George H.W. Bush crack Look at this. This is freaking wild. And he says he had this philosophy called like the big lie theory, where the bigger the lie, like, you know, we know who else felt that way.
This is crack cocaine, seized a few days ago by drug enforcement agents in a park just across the street from the White House. It could easily have been heroin or PCP. It's as innocent looking as candy, but it's turning our cities into battle zones, and it's murdering our children. Let there be no mistake. This stuff is poison. Some used to call drugs harmless recreation. They're not.
And he was freaking responsible for bringing them in there. It's so crazy. So let's see. I see what you guys are saying in here, and I'm with it. So, let's see. Yeah, exactly. LMG, my man. LMG, was it you that was trying to get into the book club that was having a tough time? Did you ever end up connecting with the support line? I told you to email me too. Do you give me my email again? Oh, Gary Webb was a weird one. So Gary Webb has mentioned this book too. And by the way, I didn't know that Montel Williams is kind of a G. So Montel Williams had Gary Webb, Rick Ross, and this guy Mike Levine on his show, and like he was pretty much the only guy who was talking about. Like I feel bad now. Like the only name association that or word association I had with Montel Williams was like Kamala Harris was his side piece, but I didn't realize he was like a cool truth seeking dude who served in the military and had like a really solid talk show back in the day. But yeah, I bought Gary Webb's book too. I'm gonna go through that because that was a weird one. Like they killed him like years after he was really at the peak of exposing the stuff. A few minutes behind on the live, but want there a huge power outage in Spain 3 years ago. Right. It was due to illness connected to France, Iberian Peninsula. There was 2 lines cut for different reasons. Interesting. I'll look into that. True, Kevin. Ozark is a good documentary for what was going down in Arkansas. But like, it's so much crazier than Ozark too. And yeah, literally every political dynasty for the most part was built on selling drugs. Like I thought they were exaggerating in Ozark when they said like, oh, the Clintons did it. How do you think they got rich? Like literally. Yep, got Dark Alliance last night. Is that a book, The Mina Connection? But yeah, that's where I want to go. It's to Mina. The Storm. Hunter Productions says, Brandon, what's up? What's up, Hunter? The book is called, let me pull it up. It's by Sean Atwood. Sean Atwood Clinton. Here we go. Share the screen and you can go on and get it. This is the one. From the Boys on the Tracks to Jeffrey Epstein. War on Drugs, Book 4. Yeah, man, what a crock of shit the war on drugs was. And like just watching Nancy Reagan and by the way, all kinds of second thoughts on Reagan and whether or not he was a solid guy. Because I mean, you had this going on under Reagan. You had Arkansas going on under Reagan. You had the Franklin cover up going on under Reagan, which like this book also gets into that and highlights some stuff like, man, you guys know the Franklin cover up, the pedo ring in Nebraska that was like sending kids to political elites. there's this crazy story in there where this kid just gets abducted in broad daylight on his way to school. The mother finds out right away and reports to the police. And then she's baffled when she tells the police, and not only are they not being helpful to her, but they tell the like people of the community who are helping the mother search for the kid, like, oh, go home now, guys. This kid wasn't abducted. He was just a runaway, and that's it. And she's like, what? Like, what? Like, why are you saying that? Like, why are you telling people not to help me look for him? Like, they're just doing like a search party for the kid, and the police are telling the people to stop helping them search. So, come to find out, the sheriff was part of this ring that was, like doing the stuff with these kids, and there's claims about George H.W. Bush in there that pretty shocking. And man, it's dark. It's upsetting that they got away with it. Like, it's like truly upsetting that George H.W. Bush got away with all this shit until the day he died. And makes me wonder about the Bush funeral, like where they got that letter where Jeb Bush had that like shocked look on his face. But like, it really seems like George H.W. Bush like was the worst type of human being you could imagine. And he was director of the CIA, vice president, president, then his buddy Clinton's president, then his son's president, then his apparently cousin or nephew or whatever, Obama, was president. I mean, like, everybody forgets that, but the Bushes are somehow cousins or related to Obama, which doesn't even make sense. But like, another rabbit hole to go down too is that who is he ultimately loyal to? Because we read that book, The Committee of 300, and it talks about how Bush would always get like bitched down by Margaret Thatcher, especially with the Iran-Iraq war, I think was the one. And so he had a serious amount of power in America, but internationally, he still seemed like he was somewhat loyal or subservient to the UK, which is weird because we were supposed to be the powerhouse at that time. Like, when George H.W. Bush was president, like, some of the Soviet Union came down and we were at peak power. So why was he bowing to anybody? Because I think we ultimately still answer to some unknown people in like the UK or like European, like deep generational money. Because even the book at the Committee of 300, they talk about how the international drug trade is the like real breadwinner for like the richest people in the world. And that's why I was interested in what Trump's talking about doing today, like with going after the cartel and stuff, because it seems like that's like they're the new people that these higher up, like, committee of 300 people that we don't know about, like, send drugs through. So I wonder if Trump's actually gonna go through with it, if Tom Homan's actually gonna go through with it, because like, you're not just messing with the cartel, you're messing with like the richest, like most dangerous, most serious, scariest people in the world. Like, we're not talking about criminals, we're talking about like, well, we are talking about criminals, but we're talking about like basically royalty. Because the United Kingdom, when it was like the British Empire, like 20% of its freaking annual revenue came from opium. So every major empire has like been rich off of drug money. And how about this? The book also says that when the Taliban was in control of Afghanistan, opium production went way down. Then when U.S. seized control of Afghanistan, opium production went way up. So riddle me that. Riddle me that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would I rate Trump so far? Glad you asked. I would say 5.5, because he, like, from a morale standpoint, he's at least saying things that make you proud to be in America, make you like assured of the future, make you feel better about the future than Biden. Like, because with Biden, it's like everything he does is like, like, come on, dude. What? Like you're changing Columbus Day to like National Indigenous People Day. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Or like like calling Easter Trans Recognition Day. Like, so just demoralizing shit like that. You know, it's like a breath of fresh air for Trump to come in and like say like America type language and America type of values and whatnot. But let's go down the line. I mean, Russia, Ukraine still not resolved. Israel, Palestine still not resolved, or Israel, Gaza still not resolved, whatever you want to call it. Don't like that the Epstein list is not out yet. Don't like that 9/11 is not declassified yet. Don't like that. I mean, especially what I know now about the Clintons. Don't like that he was just kind of talking shit about that one. With the economy, I'm glad he's in the tariffs. We need to do that, but he's doing a lot of BS stuff right now. And again, trying to think through the prism of the deal. But like today, for example, he said that China called him to negotiate a deal, and then China comes out and says that's not true. So like, why the hell are you lying about that? And I feel like it's a lie, because if he wasn't lying about it, then China came out and said like, no, it's not true. I assume he would have flipped out on them over it. So that's not great. What else is there? I mean, immigration, that's good. He's sticking to what he said with that one. We'll see what happens with the cartel. I don't like that he's proposing $1 trillion budget for the Pentagon. They don't need $1 trillion. They don't even need what they have right now. They're like being price gouged by 40%. So let's get that under control before we start increasing the budget. So I'd probably give him a 6 so far, or like a C-, or you asked 1 to 10. I'd probably give him a 6, 6.5. What about you guys? Rate Trump on a scale from 1 to 10. First 100 days. Kevin says 8. Mark says 7.5. Sam the Man says 5. Yes, I did have a good day. Thank you, Sam. What's up, Denise? How you doing? The Tom Cruise movie about the Arkansas situation is called American Made. Yeah, what do you guys think about Trump performance? Oof. 3 as a federal employee. So what's that been like? Are you catching heat? Oh, by the way, speaking of my score for him, I don't like how soft he's been with the CIA. Like the strongest thing he did was give him the opportunity for a buyout, but like it seems like there's some deep systematic rot within the CIA that needs to be cleared out, because like doesn't seem like the director has any degree of control over the CIA. It doesn't seem like the president has any degree of control over the CIA. It doesn't seem like Congress has any degree of control over them. So, I mean, granted, this is why I wanted to work for them for a while. Like I thought it was the coolest thing ever. You could like basically do whatever you want, be invisible, do all this cool shit, and get away with it. But the thing that crossed the line for me was that, like, I'm all for crossing the line, like being a little shady, doing some crazy shit. But if it's in favor of America, that's when like I'll cross those lines. I'll do the crazy stuff if it's for America. But like once you're actively working against America, and like once I realized that, then I was out. Because like, yeah, like I can live with myself if I'm doing shady things for America, if I'm crossing lines and like doing unethical things for America. But if you're doing those things and working against America, then like, I don't know, maybe I'm a bitch for that, but I couldn't feel okay with that if it's ultimately against America. Because, you know, if you're doing it for America, then it's for the greater good. It's for your family. It's for this country that's supposed to be God's gift to the world, that gives the rest of the world hope and potential to reach the heights and freedoms that we've reached. But if you're actively working against it to undermine it, and like for whatever reason, like if you're getting paid off, or if you have these communist beliefs, whatever the reason was, like it just seemed like there was a concerted effort to weaken America and put America in a position of weakness from the intelligence agencies. So once I picked up on that, and that was pretty confirmed in my face, especially by my deep state teachers, then I was out. I couldn't do it. Let's see. Trump's an 8, but the deep state in the Praetorian, what is that word? Praetorian Guard. You can't mess with them. I know. 6, 8. My pockets are full of air. 6.5. I'm with it. Jonathan Blake says 10. Wow. Don't like press secretary. She is like that annoying wife talking shit while hiding behind her husband. You don't like Caroline Levitt, Steve? 6.5. You know, I do miss Kelly McEnany. It's hard to be the replacement for Kelly McEnany. I mean, talk about perfection. And not just looks, guys, like perfection in the job too. Man, Andrew says 4.5. Brutal. Alan says 4.92. You're funny. 4.92. Nuffy 20. So is my belly. I don't like how he supports Israel too much. I get it. But I don't think he would have won if he didn't support them like this, to be honest. And he would be a whole lot less safe if he pulls it. So maybe he's just trying to thread the needle, play the game. Maybe. 10 plus. You're funny. You can't push too hard with the security apparatus. I know it's like throwing rocks at an invisible bee's nest. So it's just so interesting, like the question of who do they answer to? Who were they loyal to? Because obviously there's rogue factions within it, but like, are those rogue factions just completely self-serving, or are they serving a higher power, higher interest? That's the $1 trillion question. More concerned with how RFK has Robert Shmuley in his ear. Thoughts on him? Yeah, RFK hasn't done anything impressive at all. Like he's like did this whole song and dance about how he's been asking God every day for the last 20 years to put him in a position where he could just finally do something to help the children of America, to make them healthier. And Trump came along and put him in that position, and it's been crickets from him so far. Like, what's the most notable thing RFK has done since being put in the position in government that controls the largest budget in the entire government? Was it 2 trillion or like 1.6 trillion? And we got a ban on red dye 30 or whatever. So very disappointed with RFK. Respect and word. False flag season. Was there really a riot in China? Let's take a look and see. China riots. The online campaign urged far right to attack China's opponents in UK. Let's see. Let's take this guy down. Let me share the screen and we will see. Tiananmen Square incident massacre. I don't know, buddy. What are you talking about? Should I look on X? Let's look on X. XX is faster than the internet now because X is the media. I saw a post that showed the Doge supposedly has now saved us 370 billion. Call me when you're at $1 trillion. All right, so let's see. We got a post with 81 views. Breaking news. Riots erupt across China with people screaming they want freedom. Even a government official was killed. All right, it's got 81 impressions. Not. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think there's riots in China all the time, but no, looks like I don't see anything that happened just now. So nope. Sorry. Again, join the book club if you want to be a homie. But I don't hold Pam Bondi against him, or I don't hold Pam Bondi against him or Hegseth. So what are you saying there? You're saying that I don't hold Pam Bondi against him or Hegseth. So still undecided on Pam Bondi. Hegseth, it's been a little weird. I saw something today where they're now paying for transgender medical care again at the Pentagon, and that they're not cutting the budget but expanding the budget for defense. Not crazy about that. Yeah, that's what we need in China. Really, is just a revolution, and what it's going to take is for conditions to get bad enough. But I mean, they are getting pretty bad. Like the youth unemployment rate's at like 27%, and that's how you destroy a society, when the youth feel hopeless. She's hot and sexy. Who are we talking about now? How long ago was this? 10, 14? Oh, that must be about Kayleigh McEnany. Yeah. But if you are in the trenches, you don't know, you're in the wrong trenches. Federal employees. Thank you, Sam. I wish I was a regular too. Hey, the more you guys say that in the comment section, the more it is likely to happen. So just create a presence. Like, I know you guys, priority number one is to say like your thoughts and opinions about Adam, but take some of that energy and say some positive things about me if you want me to be part of home team. So, we listen to the market. So if the market speaks loud enough, then that will happen. So, but thank you, brother. I appreciate that. What else? Nah. Thanks, Adam. You're my boy. Ground wasps suck, especially when they go. Okay. Technically RCC based Easter off the pagan holiday worship goddess season. Yeah, okay. I know. But sometimes, like, isn't it just the nice, like the thought behind it, or like the cultural aspect of it, like it's a nice day where the family gets together, goes to church, and like tries to celebrate the idea of a good thing. So like the technicalities behind it, like I know, like you could say the same thing about Christmas, but Christmas is still a nice thing where like it's a net positive to society and net positive to the family. So I think we gotta look at these things that some people will call pagan, like through a different lens, like if it's like ultimately like a happy celebration thing where like it creates good vibes and good traditions for people, and then like, take it easy. What do you want Sam the Man to explain? What did he say? Are you telling him to explain why he wants me on the home team? It's the last post I see from Sam the Man. Okay, anyway. Oh, wait, what? Kevin, why should Brand be on home team? Wait a minute. So first he says home team tomorrow. Wish Brand was regular. Then he says, and Kevin says, Sam, then explain, please. And then Kevin, why should Brand be on home team? Oh, okay. You're asking it that if that's what he wants you to explain. Got it. All right. I was confused there for a second. The FBI totally dropped Jan 7 investigation talk. Yeah, that one too. What the hell? Like, why isn't Trump talking about that? Like, stop with the freaking Trump 2028 crap and like find out who tried to take you out, dude. Like, you're not curious about that. Like, I don't know. You could go to all kinds of weird places with that one. Was RFK and Cheryl Hines married by a rabbi? Cheryl is from Miami Beach. Looks like she's. I don't know. Did you watch the guy in Redacted talk about Antarctica? And yeah, Antarctica's wild, Texas woman. Antarctica's very wild. You know about the Admiral Byrd stuff and the. Yeah, you get real crazy with Antarctica. We had a guy on that what the hell was his name? He came on like 2 years ago. Pat interviewed him, and he said that he said that he was a plumber that got recruited by an intelligence agency, and then he got sent to Antarctica and saw all this like secret futuristic stuff. But we kind of didn't believe him because he sounded kind of crazy, and he said that he was a plumber, but I don't know. Type in PBD podcast Antarctica and it'll come up if you want to watch that. Like that posh bro Husam Bomb says, "I just want to give him more." Yep. Was there really gold under the towers? I know that there was a lot of financial data. Was there gold under the towers? Let's see. Gold under Twin Towers. Oh, wow. Shit. Good call. Good call, Angel Eyes. Man, this 9/11 thing is a freaking labyrinth. All right, let's take a look at this. All right. Yes, significant amounts of gold and silver were stored in vaults beneath the World Trade Center complex, including vaults under 4 World Trade Center. These vaults, including ones owned by Bank of Nova Scotia, were buried when the Twin Towers collapsed on September 11, 2001. Much of the gold and silver was eventually recovered. The vaults and their contents, vaults including one owned by Bank of Nova Scotia, held substantial quantities of gold and silver. Specifically, the Bank of Nova Scotia vault contained 397,000 troy ounces of gold, 29 million troy ounces of silver. Significant recovery effort was undertaken to retrieve the precious metals. The recovery efforts included finding a cache of gold that filled 2 lorries, which may have been part of the Bank of Nova Scotia's vault. The ownership value, the value is 200 million. So there you go. Apparently it was recovered. So it was there, but was recovered is the narrative, according to Google AI. So look no further. Interesting, though. I did not know that one. Yeah, Sam, I'm with you. I don't know what Kevin was asking there. Greenspan, what happened to the gold and silver? Is that totally believable narrative by Google AI not true? Was it not that simple? I mean, not that much gold. It was 200 million worth of gold allegedly. So it's not nearly as much as the $2 trillion that went missing from the Pentagon. So that's the haul that I'm interested in. But man, like, kind of getting back to what Catherine Austin Fitts said, like, things really got off the rails when the Clintons got into the White House. Like, that's when the money started going missing, and then like they just realized that they could do it, and like all the presidents started doing it or started allowing it, and now it's at 35 trillion. Like, I've shown you this before. 35 trillion Pentagon. Yeah, I've shown this so many times. Pentagon's $35 trillion accounting black hole, right? So 35 trillion in accounting adjustments in just 2019 compared to 30 trillion in 2018. So what is it today? Like 50? Probably. Again, watch this interview with Catherine Austin Fitts on Tucker's show. She was a government employee at one time, worked in banking, so it's pretty legit. And haven't heard anybody else talk about this the way that she has. So really appreciate and respect her a lot for that. Let's see. I'll go through a few more here. Fake debts and never paid interest. Cannot can you have pre-coin? Got it. Okay. Let's see. Well, guys, I'm gonna record some content for the book club now. So if you want to check that out, head on over. I'm in there. Greenspan's in there. Kevin is joining. Steve P's in there. Dylan's in there. Who else? Jordan's in there. David's in there. So yeah, got a real cool crew of people in there. Lori's in there. So let's keep on building it up. We're gonna keep doing a lot of cool stuff, and you're gonna learn stuff that you never would have learned otherwise. So check it on out, and I will see you guys on Wednesday, if not sooner, in the book club. So much love. God bless. Stay safe, and I will talk to you later. Good night.